Top of the morning, it's your boy Mozzie, Baby Mon's Logan, and this is Survival of the Fittest podcast. Man, this is a special one for the books, man. Man, come on, man. I'm not even finna get this guy introduction. I'm gonna let him go ahead and do what he do best. Go ahead, brother. What you got?
I got God, and I'm so happy to be here, man. Let me reach out to him. I got God, man. This is only by divine guidance. This is something so big I can't put it into words. Outside the two of us coming, the two guests that we have here today, man, it just brings it full circle. So let me do what we do, and then later on, me and Monza double back and talk to y'all, right? So I'm gonna start this off with the co-founder of the legendary Chicago dance group known as the Future Kings, contested on TV shows like The World of Dance and America's Got Talent. Founder, I'm missing this word up. Canvas House. Sometimes I see the spelling. Founder of Canvas House, chairman of Healthy Hood. Let's welcome to the stage. Let's not forget father, husband, Chairman Allen Washington.
Come on. Thank you, brother.
And sitting next to him to his left, chairwoman of Healthy Hood Chicago, minister of Holy Ground Chicago, transformational teacher, wife, mother, everything under the sun, Reverend Tanya Lozano, Washington.
That's right.
Man, so first of all, we got to address this, right? This is our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, yeah, we can't forget that.
And there's only one way to do this, by bringing our very first guest back on. And not only did he come, bearing fruit, as always, but he's bearing special fruit in this episode. Because when you first got here, brother, you spoke of this young lady as your life partner. Now today, she's your wife.
My wife.
Come on, we got to talk about that, man. We got to show some love to that.
To commemorate that. Brother Trail, can you help us out with this?
Oh my goodness. I thought it was going to be champagne or something.
Oh, we got that too. we got that too.
This is so beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. We just wanted the audience to see.
Come on, man. I love y'all, man.
Yeah, this is real life over here. This is real life.
So what made now that time to say, man, let's do this. Let's make it official.
We talked about having a life partner. We talked about this checklist, right? This like theoretical checklist that I had on like the dating tab. And I feel like we were actually friends through that whole process. And when we spoke about like the woman that challenges you,
right?
I had to sit back and really look like the things that I've asked for, the things that I've prayed for. Like how long do we allow these blessings to sit in front of us before we actually put in that work? You get what I'm saying? I heard this quote: "Faith without works is dead."
Yes.
So if we don't put in the work while we're praying for these things, while we're asking for these things, then we'll never really truly be able to have these things. And I don't know, it was just, the whole process was so divine. I asked for her parents' blessing, and after that conversation, it was just like, man, it's now.
Right.
It's now. Right. In so many different ways. Our kids, they loved each other. Our communities, they love each other.
Right.
And it feels even weird saying we love each other. We are one in so many different ways. And after that blend happened, it was only like, that's why girlfriend didn't suffice as a title. It was my life partner.
Right.
I think the energy and the intention of becoming like a unit and being married was always kind of there. I think even at the very start of our relationship, we were really intentional. And communicated that with each other. Like, if we're going to do this, like, it's going to be very important, right? And so we got to take it seriously. And if we're going to do it, we got to really do it, because our communities had already meshed in so many different ways. And we were already looked at as, examples, right, of what the new revolutionary should look like, and the role of the artist in the movement and so forth. And so I didn't think he was going to propose as quickly as he did. And I think the biggest thing was like, I really did not know he was doing that. Like, it was a whole thing that he did, like my whole family was involved. Our community was involved. They decorated the front of my parents' house. My dad is very sick. So my dad was able to just come out of the house and sit there for it. You know, he got their blessing, and like all of this was happening. And when we say that we are one, like we are one, we are practically attached at the hip. So we do absolutely everything together. And I had no idea that he was planning that, and it just really surprised the heck out of me.
Let me tell you how we originally met ATO, the chairman, Allen. So my brother to the right, hellified, bona fide producer. We're doing music for a while. So we came up with this song. He made the beat. I said, hey, man, let's put something together. Now, of course, I'm in my 40s. I waited this long to become a rap star, but he did it. So we made the song. What's the song? What was it?
No Stoplights.
No Stoplights. So we go out to Cali with Big Bro. We film this whole thing. And I somehow say, you know what? We need somebody who can dance to this song. And I'm scrolling. Like, that's the way, right? I'm scrolling. And somehow or the other, I stop on Al. I don't know what made me just say, hey, I got this song. Would you mind putting a dance to this song? I sent him the DM. Yeah, I think it could have been a day or something. He said, yeah, give me $300. I said, $300 now? I'm grown. I'm real grown. I ain't never sent nobody no money. Didn't know him from Adam or for Eve. I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. Sent him the 300. He sent me the first video. Then he sent the second video. Then he sent the third video. So he over-delivered.
Yeah.
And so to your point,
that's what he does.
That he over-delivered. Then he extended an invitation. Hey, man, won't you come to my birthday party? That's when me and Caution went. So that's when I first physically met him. So we did a transaction based off faith and what my understanding of what the sign is telling me to do. Then we physically met months later.
Now, let me ask you this. You know, I see you have been promoting the single, The Dope Man, with the Dope Man merch, you know, and man, I mean, I love it every time I see it. Sold out, baby. Yeah, every time I see it, man, I love it. And, you know, I understand because, of course, you know, I'm privileged enough to, you know, have a deeper background with you. How important is the artistry and the music to the revolution?
Man, we say the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. You feel me? And I think the wave that I'm on now is very, very much that the artists that we've been sitting down with, the mentors, the conversations that me and my wife have, just like all surrounded around these, again, cultural, courageous conversations. Like it's pushing the envelope. And how can we make the music just as attractive as the toxic shit that we pump in?
Right.
And have so much substance to it that it's like undeniable. We talked about this last time. It's called truth music. Ain't there's nothing that'll make you scrunch your face up more than the truth.
Yeah.
You be, ooh. He said, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make you rewind it. Share it with somebody. Man, I can't believe
truth.
Said told me the truth.
Now, where we be going wrong with it a lot of the times is we cannot make the truth digestible. We can't make the truth attractive. We can't make the truth, that shit hard. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh my baby. Like we need that same reaction that niggas give to a lot of this bullshit, bro. Because guess what? Bullshit, they understand how to get it through the door first. So let's get it through the door. And let's have some courageous conversation while we at it.
Yeah. You know, it starts with this, like giving you guys the platform to be seen. Because now you have the youngsters that's coming up under you guys. They have you guys to look at and say, hey, this is what I strive to be. You know, how important is that to you? You know, because both of you guys have a family together to be seen in that light of, okay, man, it's about community. It's not just about a self thing. If your brother isn't right, you're not right. How important is that for you to push that to your children?
Representation is everything. It's everything. You guys know who Toby Anugwe is? I probably butchered his last name.
The artist. That
brother is so talented. He is so amazing. And above all, he pushes the family dynamic.
Right.
Like, and I remember getting a gem from my uncle. He was like, man, we're not told this as black and brown people, but we can negotiate our wage when we get hired somewhere. Or before we get hired, when we sit down for the interview. I had to sit down. This man lying hard as hell. You feel me? Like, right. I'm in so much disbelief of like the tools that we could have that I'm like denying something that my uncle gave me type deal. Like, and a lot of these affluent neighborhoods, that's tools that they know. They're already walking with that. So like to see Toby representing the family and how powerful the family is and how we can negotiate demands of having our family on the forefront and stay independent while having the family. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep seeing it. Same thing when we got married. Like the representation, I had a lot of my young brothers come up to me. And this is the part that made me emotional. Not let me go on record. I was emotional the whole time, bro. Like
it wasn't no one part.
Yeah, I think the second I got on the knee and like, I was emotional the whole time. But another part that made a brother emotional is like, I would have some of the young brothers come up to me and tell me, hey, bro, like, I've never seen somebody that looked like me do that shit. And we'll shake up, we hug, and I had to think about, I ain't never seen a nigga look like me that do this shit either.
Right.
Like, that's so crazy.
Right.
Like, a few months before, my homie proposed to his girl. Like, I'm a grown ass man now. I'm 27. Like, I got 4 kids. We a whole life together. You feel me?
Right.
And I had to wait this long to see that. You know how powerful it is for these young kids to see that?
Yeah.
We need more representation. So like that, for me, it's everything. When we talk about community, it's everything. It's like the power dynamic. That's where we can draw power from, is to see it. Without vision, the people perish, right? We know that.
Yeah. Hosea 4:13.
And if we can't see it, if we've never seen it, bro, like we've never seen it.
But see, it's that fearlessness. It goes back to the title of your podcast again, Radical Love, coming soon. You got to have that radical self-expression of love. But because we're beat over the head with even if you're in a relationship, they don't want you to tell somebody. I'm talking about the industry, because we want you to be marketable.
Absolutely.
So you have to talk about, I want to have sex
So
with
let me ask you,
girl.
why is that marketable? Why is being single marketable?
So because they want you to feel desirable. I guess the consumer, they need, for whoever buy your music, they want you to feel that, they need them to feel that they can have you or that you're on the market. Like, I don't know.
And the best way to have you is to isolate you. And if you're isolated, then you're easily manipulated, right? Because you're trying to fill voids. And I think the reason why our relationship and the reason why we want our relationship to be on display for our community is that we understand the historical context of how the Black and brown family was intentionally separated through slavery, through genocide. And we knew that was the first thing that the oppressor did, was to break up the family. Because if you break up the family, then the concept of community can't really exist, right?
Absolutely.
And so, but that's a hard pill to swallow. And not everybody wants to hear that. You know, like people don't want to hear that kind of negativity. People don't want to hear how they've been manipulated. You know, it's like when you unplug from the matrix, it's not like a fun experience. Right. That shit hurts, you know, like we've seen that. And so what we want to do is make it palatable. Not just palatable, but make people desire healthy relationship, and teaching them that healthy relationship is an act of resistance. And if you acting in a state of resistance, then when you do hear those hard truths, they don't hurt as much because you know you can do something about it. Absolutely. You know what I
want to
mean?
highlight how she said practice too. Like we be there practicing, like very much at the crib. Like, let's talk about this.
I want her to dive deeper into that. The word she used is an act of resistance.
Come on.
Talk about love and being married as a form of active resistance.
Everything in capitalism, especially for marginalized communities, has taught us to be independent, to be isolated, to be proud if you do something by yourself, right? And when we begin to practice, again, it's practice. It's not just this theory. It's not, we're just talking about it. It's like when we begin to practice radical love, radical understanding, radical listening, radical communication, it's an act of resistance to a system that intentionally made it so that we would develop a culture otherwise, a culture where we're competing with each other constantly, where we can't trust anyone. And so again, we isolate. And when you isolate, you become easily manipulated. And then a system that was designed like that for generations and generations, that works like a well-oiled machine, just does its job. And then it gets to a point where it feels like community is just doing the job for it because it's developed a culture. And so what we want to develop is a counterculture. And sometimes when you hear the word counter, you think combative, you think adversarial, right? But counterculture to the culture that exists isn't that. It's love, it's understanding, it's grace. it's transformative, you know.
Sounds like a lot of that is still happening today.
Absolutely.
Around the world with the whole Israel and Gaza conflict, the manipulation and the propaganda that's still going on today.
Yeah.
That's
Speak on that if you will, Brother Allen.
for me, like, it's all my brain has been wrapped up on right now. Me and my wife, we talk about it all day.
We cry about it.
We cry about it. For me, I done unfollowed a lot of different accounts. Just based on, like, we talk about it already, community, but on a even more surface level scale. Let's just talk as humans, like as humans. And I be thinking, like, on a child level, how the U.S. right now, they're going crazy over this young boy who was stabbed 27 times. That's terrible.
Right.
And that little boy times 2,000 right now.
Right.
And that's just within the last 2 weeks, but let's talk about the last few decades.
Historically, yeah.
The last few decades. And when we talk about propaganda, man, like, diving deep into it, it's crazy how quickly and how many airways they place on the biggest news platforms, that the misinformation.
Right.
And then when they retract these statements, they put them on the sidelines, they put them in the excerpts, they put them in the small pieces and back pages. And
Because once it's out there in people's heads,
you feel
it's
me?
hard to get it out.
I saw this one meme. Right now, the world, you know, we USians, so it's only real when it happens here. You feel me? For a lot of people, only real when it happens here. So they making memes and all types of stuff. I saw this one, and it was like, "All right, guys, I'm gonna go to bed." And then the caption was, "After you just got done scrolling, seeing what's going on in Gaza," and then he, "All right, I'm going to bed." Locks his phone and he just turns over, just start crying, bawling. Like, that's really, like, human lives. I got 4 kids, bro. I wake up in the morning after looking at what's going on the socials, what's going on the news, and, like, listening to justifications for genocide, bro, for mass murder of human lives, souls leaving this earth. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, and then I gotta wake up and get my babies ready. You feel me? Like, I don't understand. And these are people who are making the decisions. These are people who are truly unaffected by the result. Like, they could press a button right now. 3,000 families gone, wiped from the earth, from existence,
and they're safe and sound
in a little office. Chilling.
Well, let's put a name on it. So it ain't they.
The government.
And let's put a name to what
the governments that plays. Our government currently, the U.S. government,
American government
is condoning genocide
they the only
currently.
One veto
I think that's really what we've been talking about in our community, is like, we don't live in Israel. We don't live in Palestine. So our criticisms should not be on how those people should be behaving under the conditions in which they live there.
Right.
What our criticism should be on as American citizens is what our American government's role is in that. And historically, the role of our government has been to be an imperialist power across the world, the biggest bully across the rest of the world. We've been to Cuba twice. We have an event today about Cuba where we've seen how the United States global policy towards that people, which is a very small island isolated from anyone in the rest of the world, this country's government has placed so many economic sanctions on that people that they basically left them there to fend for themselves. They won't allow them to be in relationship with the rest of the world and how they please, like everybody else, because they've sanctioned them to that degree with the intention to strangle them economically so they would overthrow their own government, because their government is a socialist project. And this country will do whatever it can to hide the fact that there is an alternative type of society that works better than capitalism. Because if that is true, then the jig is up. That means all this stuff that we believe that our dollar so value, which is all based on fake stuff, it's fake, that the jig would be up. And that the rest of the world would get their stuff together, organize with each other, and overthrow basically this empire. Every empire falls throughout history.
Absolutely.
And it's showing this is an empire, one that supports genocide But it shouldn't be a surprise either. And I think that's the part that we struggle with our community is like, because if you know your history, then you know this ain't nothing new for this country.
Absolutely.
You know, that's how they came in here.
Right.
They wiped out the Native Americans. They stole half of this land from Mexico. Our Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, those were all Mexico. Those were all my country. You know, and that all was taken and women were raped and, you know, people's homes were pillaged and all of that. So this is nothing new, you know, and I think it's about time as American citizens, when we talk about a democracy, right? This is a democracy, is that we really understand what that means. And when people, the biggest thing for me is when people say, I don't vote, I don't like politics. It's like, but your whole life is political.
Right.
You living in the belly of the beast.
Yep.
Privileged to not be bombed every day because this country's out there bombing everybody else.
So what does
babies.
Democracy mean since you brought it up?
I think, so when we went to Cuba, for me, democracy means that everyone in society has a voice in how we collectively move, not just in our own country, but throughout the world. That's what democracy means to me. Do I believe we live in a real democracy? Absolutely not. I think what we live in is that they tell us it's a democracy because we have a vote. But after we submit our vote, we really don't have a voice in how those elected officials make their moves. Right. But in Cuba, which is what we're all told through American propaganda, is that there is no democracy, that it's a communist country, it's a dictatorship. But when you go there, it's actually a socialist project in which they have unions for artists. So they have a seat at the table. They have unions for students in elementary school, high school, and college. So all of those different generations of people have a seat at the table. They have, you know what I mean? Like there's actual processes. They have these things in each neighborhood called the committees for the defense of the revolution. And those are basically block clubs. Right. And every month those block clubs have this big block party or a big community party. And they talk about the stuff that's going on in their neighborhood, and they tell their elected officials or they tell their people, their representatives, how they want to be represented. But where are those kind of platforms for us to tell our representatives how to represent us after we vote them into office? And then, you know, you think about democracy here, like they run in their campaigns off these very broad and general campaign statements, but there's not a lot of detail. There's not a lot of insight as to what their plans are. And, you know, we can change those things. And all we have right now is a vote. And that's why I say when people say they don't vote because they don't want to get into politics, it's like, but that's all we have right now. Right. So if you're getting up your one tool, your one weapon to move things in a way, then you basically surrendering.
Let me ask you this, and you're absolutely right. You know, so you explained it to me. In Cuba, they have these, you know, they have like communities or block that would resemble what we have here as block clubs. Yeah. And once a month, they will all assemble and discuss whatever needs to be improved on in their community. And they have a big
party afterwards.
Right.
Too.
You know, so is it possible that we're just not holding our elected officials accountable here in the United States? Because here, at least what I know here in Chicago, we do have, neighborhoods. That neighborhood has an alderman. Right. That alderman is a direct connection to the city, and so on and so on. So is it that we're coming with all of these complaints and say, hey, this, that, and the above, but we're not organizing and holding our elected officials accountable? What do you think about that?
I think the problem with the movement really since the assassinations of the 60s, 70s, and 80s has been organization just period, generally. And because I'm a pastor, I can have grace with my own people, and I can identify and acknowledge the role of the system has in making that our reality, which is people are scared to organize. People are scared to be leaders because look what happens to our leaders. They're martyred, right? And so I think that's been a consistent problem. I do feel like this new generation has less fear, but because the last generation was scared to organize, they didn't witness what organizing was. And so that's the part that's missing in this. Like we think about the unrest of 2020 after the assassination of George Floyd, the streets were packed, right? And people were out, and there was a lot of new consciousness that were awakened, especially in the younger generation. But then once everything opened back up during the pandemic, that kind of, simmered down, right? And so But that's because if there were people really organizing in that space, right, then we would have seen more of like a momentum held and more of a consistency so we can really organize and demand things. Some people really did. Like our organizations didn't go into quarantine really. We stepped up and started feeding people. We stepped up and started creating new programming to get people their needs during the pandemic. And that's when we met, you know, because there wasn't a lot of people that just stepped up into action during that time with good reason, because it was scary. You know, nobody, I mean, you taking care of older folks. You got a majority of our Black and brown communities have diabetes, have hypertension, asthma, which all seem to be underlying conditions that could get you killed with COVID, right? And so with good reason, but, you know, it wasn't a lot of people that were like, let's figure it out.
See, when I hear you speak, I'm sitting over here and I'm kind of tearing up, right? I'm 45 years old. So there's a scripture that says, he that increases knowledge increases sorrow, right? Because once you get the knowledge, now you have to make a decision. What side of the fence do you fall on? Is it capitalism, imperialism, socialism? And when they say politics are local, now for us, it boils down to, for example, I was a gang member and we're talking about organizers. And so I remember they did a call to where we had to have a gang meeting. So the guy went and he rented these yellow school buses. And the only time I've been on a school bus was in school. I didn't know street cats who at this time who was smart enough to galvanize all of us up, get them 2 long school buses and say, everybody need to be on that bus. So we gathered. He took us to a meeting place at a hotel, banquet hall, gave us food. And then he gave us the agenda. But it was all centered around capitalism, right? So it was, okay, you can't sell drugs until you get out of school. Okay, here's the new lieutenant for he just came home out of prison, so y'all ought to listen to him. You know, but it was all negative. It was no agenda.
Positive. What gang was this?
I was a Black gangster disciple, right? And so this is what they did. It's a whole group of us. And they given an agenda on how to destroy. And I sat there, right? And I swear for God, man, on my mama grave, I wanted to throw my hand up because everybody in there, once we was given the agenda about how to sell drugs and tear down the neighborhood, I knew who mamas I was selling drugs to. I know he's selling drugs to my mama. And I wanted to throw my hand up and say, what about the positive? What about us making a bigger difference? Because in the same breath, if this was going on, they was tearing down the projects. And the only people on the front line were the women and the children. So when they was rallying up to fight against CHA, Chicago Housing Authority, it was all women, a bunch of little kids, and me and a couple other men. But for the most part, it was just women.
So just take it off that energy, because obviously, you know, you have some of that within you.
But that's why things can't, to go back to what?
Right. Yeah. There's so many people that want to step up and be a voice, you know, and I want to ask, because we touched on this when we, your first interview, speaking to you, what gave you that sense of community architecting to, you know, to be a revolutionary, to be someone who want to uplift the community?
Well, I grew up witnessing that. You know, my parents were both activists. My father, Reverend Slim Coleman, he was in the Black Panther Party with Chairman Fred Hampton here, Rainbow Coalition. And he also helped run the campaign for Mayor Harold Washington to get elected, and then became one of his senior advisors. And on that campaign trail, he met my mom and my uncle Rudy Lozano. And my uncle Rudy Lozano was one of the founding members of the Black and Brown Coalition that got Mayor Harold Washington elected. And after Harold was elected, he chose my uncle as deputy mayor. And shortly after that, he was assassinated in his home in Little Village in front of his child. And my mom really just kind of picked up that torch and ran with it. She was the person in the family who just, you know, assassinations in families take a really harsh toll on the family. Families break after that. And I wouldn't say my family broke, because we have on my Lozano side, like, just a really traditional Mexican family. Like, we all live in the same neighborhood, like our whole lives. We all have been in Pilsen, and it didn't break our family, but it broke a lot of individuals within the family. You know what I mean? Like, some people just never got over it, and it manifested in different things: alcoholism, drugs, even going all the way to the other side, becoming Republican, like just wild things, right? Because, grief does things like that to the family.
Absolutely.
But my mom really picked up that torch. She used her grief to power her into his work and to do that work. And she ended up running for alderwoman, and my father ended up being her campaign manager. And that's where they fell in love. And so their love was created in the movement space. And then they had me and my younger sister together. And so just growing up, my parents have always been super active, specifically in the immigrant rights realm. And I was an athlete. I played basketball my whole life. I played all the way through elementary school, high school, and then
What
in
position?
college. I played point guard all the way through high school. And then when I got to college, I realized I wasn't that good of a ball handler, and they made me a shooting guard. And I think what made me just want to build community is because, number one, I realized very quickly that I just knew how. I knew how. I had skills that were untraditional, right? Especially growing up in CPS schools, like you learn how to be a factory worker, you learn how to play your role. And I knew other skills that most of the people around me didn't. And I just saw very clearly injustice because it was through that lens that I was brought up. It was like, when you see some, you say some,
Yeah.
And so it was just really, especially going to college and like in Naperville and going back and forth from the hood to Naperville, I was just like, man, there's just way too much inequality. I need to figure out a way to play my role in this,
You went to North Central?
Played basketball there, yep.
My brother graduated from North Central.
Word. Yeah, it's a Methodist school, and I studied religion there. My father, I'm a PK, so my father's ended up becoming a pastor when I was 5 or 6. And so I got a little scholarship to go there because it was a Methodist school and my dad was a Methodist pastor. And then I got a little scholarship to play basketball too.
He played basketball and football there.
Oh, really? Come on, multi-sport athlete, go crazy.
Quick question for you, Allen. What does it mean to be a revolutionary?
I feel a revolutionary's heart is for the people and for the betterment of our culture. I feel we have this. Neither of us got our jacket on today, but we got our Kaje jackets, and it says "Servant of the People" on the back. I know I usually go on my rants within our cadre about how much pride we take in being servants of the people. I believe those are the revolutionaries. If you can like Google revolutionary, those people that pop up, they are clear images of the servants of the people. You feel me? And that's what they did. They lived to serve the people. They lived to say the things that others dared to say because it's unsafe, though it benefited the people. But again, we hover back to what we're going through now. The revolutionaries, Mark Lamont Hill, he a revolutionary. He's for the people. He like dares to use his platform, which is very much a lot of those people who are opposing his opinion, and like he's speaking on it. He's standing on it. He a revolutionary. And I feel with the things that we do, we fight narrative right now. We fight this idea that we have a lack of, this idea that we hate each other. And we do that with education, political education, and we do that with resources. Like we continue to circulate our resources in our communities and in our city. So if we understand, like, just the short way of saying that, serving our people, you feel me? Like that's the revolutionary aspect of it.
So I want to transition real quick, and I want to talk about industry plant in music. Now, I've been looking at a lot of things about Sexy Red. Now, I don't really know too much about her music, but when they say she's an industry plant, what does that mean?
So we were talking about the family thing, right? And now 9 times out of 10, I could pull up a random artist and I can give you a word bank of specific stereotypes and toxins that they dump into the Black and brown community. And based off that word bank, you'll be able to know every single artist that is signed by a major label. Now, if I do the same thing with independent artists, it's kind of hard to do that word bank. You're going to get a lot of revolutionary artists. You're going to get a lot of people that don't fall under the category of, I'm going to give you an example, Chicago drill music. Chicago not only is the home of drill music, but that is what defines Chicago music. Is that a true narrative?
No.
Come on. You go to Chicago and you start to see a lot of brothers that look like these brothers that we've been seeing on TV because, believe it or not, Chicago. Come on, baby. That they got that part of the culture right. And they're only going to highlight the things that fit in that word bank. You get what I'm saying? You look like this, you sound like this. But we need you to talk about the detriment of your people. We need you to talk about killing your people. We need you to talk about, better yet, we're going to put you on a platform with a bunch of 10, maybe 7 at the oldest type, 7 to 18, 7 to 25-year-old. We'll put you on that platform. But we need you to be sexualized so that these kids that are watching this,
right,
they're singing it, and it has to be catchy. It's what we were just talking about. If we
hooks are
made some
simple and
revolutionary
catchy.
educational shit that was so catchy, bro, so catchy, and we've seen it happen on the most basic level. Baby Shark. You get what I'm saying? We've seen it happen on a basic level. Now we've seen it happen on the most extreme level. I hit it first. Ray J, you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like these are things that it kind of got engraved in the back of our minds. And what is it teaching us after that? So when we talk about the industry plants, it's people who are signed by the industry, condoned by the industry, and now have been validated by the industry, which 9 out of the 10 people who work in the industry aren't from the culture, who control the industry business, the music business. They not black or brown. Right. You get what I'm saying? But they're verifying you to be on these platforms that are mostly viewed black and brown and saying, look, this is what
you believe it's real.
And controlling what you put out. Controlling
Absolutely.
what they put out.
Look, what is the best way to create obedient slaves? You make them believe it's their choice. If I have nothing to subscribe in, and this is my example, we just talked about why representation is so important. Mm-hmm. That's the representation we got. That's what we got.
Right.
And we get backlash when we get good representation. That's the representation that's awarded. But when we get Haley, was it Haley Berry? Is that her name? Bailey. Halle Bailey.
Oh, the one that played
Bailey.
Yeah, there we go. You know, tongue tied.
Right.
When
Little Mermaid.
When Little Mermaid's black on some positive shit, like now we're gonna get hella backlash. Yeah. Why? Now this is something that's truly constructed by man, a cartoon, and you mad about it because it's positive? Oh, don't let us do. Give you another example. Miley Cyrus, when she made some like over sexual shit at like 15 years old, the world went crazy. What? This little girl can't. And she ain't really saying nothing that bad. It was on some like just pushing the envelope shit.
The way she was dressed, probably.
But let's talk about Aaliyah. Yeah. 15, 14
or
years
Rihanna.
old. Or let's talk about Rihanna. Because they're black little black girls. You get what I'm saying? It's not, they're no longer little girls. They can't be little girls because they're little black girls. It's okay to over sexualize them. So when we talk again about these industry plants, these are the people who, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of our people, because of our situation, because of the way the system is set up to place us in our positions, this is our example. We're gonna find these people and we're gonna throw a $sign behind it. We're going to make them believe that this is their choice. Keep going. Keep rapping. And we're going to celebrate that shit at that.
It's going to continue the dehumanization of black and brown people. And we're seeing how narrative does that and how it's playing out in Palestine right now. Because they call them terrorists. Because in our neighborhoods, maybe they're hoodlums. Maybe they're thugs. Maybe they're gangbangers. Whatever those titles they put on us and they perpetuate it through our music and what they allow for us to listen to, it dehumanizes us. So it justifies it when 80% of the jails are black and brown. I think it justifies it when babies are getting killed with crossfire. They're just those people. They're the terrorists.
We think about how powerful like the tool like narrative is. Like if I had a gun and I did not know how to use it, it is as useful as a paperweight. That is a paperweight. Has no power to the gun. Now, if I make you believe that that's a paperweight, boy, best believe this gonna be the best paperweight I ever got. Right. Now, with narrative, the oppressor, they understand how to use it. They are using it. You say anything about the oppressor's name, their culture, any of that shit, boy,
So it's the brainwash.
You get what I'm saying? But for black people, for black and brown people, we don't understand that tool that we have. So we're thinking like when we get on these platforms, it's not to advocate for ourselves. It's not to talk about healthy transitions and things like that. I gotta turn up.
Now let me ask you, because we spoke on, you was just saying with these word banks how, if it would only speak to, well, let me rephrase that. You spoke on how there are more independent artists out here who have, more of a revolutionary spirit, more positive message. Are there any artists from the city that you can name to give the people out here that's
bro,
giving
Heavy
that
Crowns from Inglewood,
Rico Shy.
Rico Shy from over east. We got the great thinkers like Jiggy Bars, Afrocentric.
Speak on
the list go on. Like Chicago got some names, got some amazing creators that make positive. Like my brother Heavy Crowns just came over yesterday, and we were talking about how we played the album like 6 times in a row. Just let it play, bro.
Right.
And again, it got past the doors of it's gotta be cool. Not corny cool, it's gotta be real cool.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like when I think about how hip hop was back in the day, it was like real cool.
Yeah.
And there was some corny stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Same thing with the Panthers. The Panthers in the 60s, man, they were so cool. They had the leather jackets, the swag, the way they spoke.
And again, there were some revolutionaries that were corny. You know what I'm saying? Like some cornballs. But like when it was authentic, it was the coolest shit ever. And we're starting to see that.
So marketing is still important.
Absolutely. But again, knowing the power of marketing, having that knowledge, like we walk into these interviews and we don't have somebody has said it while we were having this conversation. It's like once you know these things, it's hard to turn that light switch off, bro. Like I can't go into this dark room anymore. I'm going with this. It's illuminated. I can see all the things that are laying on the floor. I'm not going to trip this time. You feel me? It's hard to turn these lights off. If I understand the power of narrative, the power of like marketing, how I market myself, you feel me? They start to treat you a little different.
Yeah.
I want to take you to some things that you said on the last interview. You did something, a Treehouse show or something like that?
The
Treehouse show, right? And I want you to elaborate on these 2 quotes. You say, if you don't trust the people, they become untrustworthy, but trust the people and they become trustworthy. Break that down.
The Art of War. My wife, she quotes it all the time. And I think it's, man, it's very straightforward, bro. Like we live in this society where as parents, we've heard the term do as I say, not as I do.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like if I'm spanking you and telling you not to hit, for me, I just process when something is wrong, when something happens, I have to correct it by hitting. Do you get what I'm saying? And for me to learn that, you just hit me. You get what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
So how do we trust, or how do we teach trust? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
By being the example of what trust looks like.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's really the biggest criticism I have of the movement space with this younger generation is that we don't practice what we preach.
Mm-hmm.
We keep saying we're abolitionists. We want a society without prisons. We want all of these things. And then in our own interpersonal relationships, we're punishing each other constantly. Why? What does punishment do? Is punishment actually help change behavior, or does understanding help change behavior? And, that's why when you trust the people, they become trustworthy. Worthy. If you don't trust them, then they're not going to be trustworthy.
No,
it's just really as simple as that. But we think so hard about it. Or if all the police were gone, then there would be crime everywhere. What, is that what you trying to do? You trying to commit crime? Because that's not what we're on. But if that's the kind of energy we're setting as a collective, as a society, then that's what it's going to be. So even in these movement spaces, are you practicing restorative and transformative justice, or are you just talking about it? You know what I mean?
And to your point, because I got the other quote for you, that's one of the reasons it's hard to be a revolutionary and lead your people, because to bring about their trust, other people have died. Not many of us are willing to die so that you may trust in what I'm telling you and what I'm practicing.
Come on.
So that's one of the things. But I want to go back, speaking about that. You said something else on the same show. You say, we don't have a violence problem. We have a value problem.
Mm-hmm. I actually heard this quote from, I think it was Johnny Page, one of our brothers, mentor. He's amazing. But yeah, it's one of my capital T truths. I believe that we don't have a violence problem in our city. We have a value problem. A lot of the times we just don't value ourselves. If I don't value myself, what do I look like valuing somebody that look like me? You get what I'm saying? What do I look like valuing life, time, materials, opportunities, experiences? because I don't value myself. So then again, we look back at the system and we see the system that's created for us to not value things like time, like school, like we not value things like interpersonal relationships. And we're built to do these things. So if while we're in the system that continues to do that and we continue to not value ourselves, we fuck y'all. Like it really gets to the point where it's like, I don't like, there's no more connection needed here because there's no value that I can pull from anything. You feel me? So I think once we start to fix the value problem, we start to see it's synonymous. Like it happens together. We start to see the value go up and then the violence go down, because it's what you just said earlier. We saying the same thing a million different ways, and it's so beautiful. But like, I don't even remember how you said it earlier, but it's the same thing.
So how do
man.
you instill value?
It's narrative. It's always going to come back to narrative, right? Because another Johnny Page quote, we love this brother. How they talk about us is how they see us, and how they see us is how they treat us.
Come on.
And we could change those to be how we talk about ourselves is how we see each other, and how we see each other is how we treat each other. And if all we're listening to is Sexy Red and drill music, that's how we talking about ourselves. And then that's how we looking at each other. That's why in the hood, you walk by somebody, you don't say, hey, how's your day?
No,
you don't smile at them. No, you keep your head down and you keep walking because you don't want no smoke, right? And it goes into this narrative. And it's like, at this point, we don't even know how much power we have because nobody really watches mainstream media anymore, right? People are getting their information from their social media. If we were more intentional and more organized as this generation of movement people, then we could actually help change the narrative and shift the narrative, therefore drive culture in a more positive place, right?
So for those future revolutionaries out there that may be watching or listening, give a few examples that they can use in their everyday life to spread that message.
Organize with real people. Everybody has a community. Everybody has a community. Like you said, the organizing is most effective locally, right? So your community could be your immediate family. It could be your church. It could be your school. It could be the barbershop you get your haircut at. Wherever it is, you have access to a community. You are a part of one or more communities. Organize with real people. Sit in circle. Build honest, actual relationship where people are open to being transparent about the problems that they're facing, and create a space for you to discover and explore solutions with each other, right? And then that's like you said, it's galvanizing power. The most powerful power that we have is people power. So if you have a group of people, real people, not followers, okay? Real people, and you galvanize with those people, you can demand things. You know, you can move things. You have power to shift culture. You can create culture, right? That's what I would say to the young revolutionary. It's not about your social media presence. It's not about your independent opinion. It's about you being able to hold and create space for community to collectivize, to create a collective consciousness, because that's more powerful than any one person's opinion ever.
And so let me ask you this. When you see the young kids downtown gathering together, doing what they do,
great point.
You know, twerking and whatever it is, meeting up and, you know, downtown wilding out, that takes organization?
Yeah, to a degree, for sure, to get them all down there at the same time and all that. Yeah,
actually,
especially
one of the
a
young
large
people
group like they do.
Yeah,
actually, one of the
great
young
point.
people that was at one of the events, they were at our house not too long ago, and they're actually pretty organized, bro. They got a whole
have a whole page.
got a
Yeah, that's
whole
what I thought.
like group chat, and I think again when we talk about resources, if we always saying that in our spaces is criticize, self-criticize. Like if we have the ability to criticize somebody, their decision, their work, whatever, we have to be able to criticize ourselves and the role that we played in whatever that was. So for this, like the city to just straight criticize all of these kids and all these parents, and let's talk about what kind of programming, extracurricular space, like are we creating for them to have safe space for them to feel like themselves? Because I'm not gonna lie, I have not met one human being on earth that acts the same exact way in front of their parents that they do in front of their friend group. It doesn't happen. So like understanding that let's create some safe spaces for these kids. Cause right now you don't care about them going back to their hoods and like dodging whatever they dodge. Like, cool. So let's create spaces. Let's create programs. Let's create opportunity for them to be exposed to things that are going to change their life. Cause when I was young, I lived in Long Beach, California. It's a different type of hood. You feel me? So when I got into a program, which there was not very many programs, it's niggas that look like me running these programs, bro. I'm very, very much like I'm exposed to basketball, like, but a different type of, but they taking us over here to go play this type. We went camping for the first time. Me, bro, I've never, like, as a young boy, I never was outside of Long Beach, California. Not like, I moved outside the block because we moved all the time. Right. All different parts of, you feel me? So like for me, like these kids, they're experiencing a lot of that same shit. So what does it look like when they don't have anything to do? When they don't have any programs? When they don't have, like, I'm talking about a lot of the times the kids be out here trying to get it. The situations at home, we got young kids. I needed a job at like 14. I was having a kid. My mom had moved out, so I was taking care of the house, me and my brother. Like so many different situations. I needed bread before I could legally get a job. The easiest way to do that is like, bro, I'm selling weed, I'm selling rock for my cousin, all types of crazy stuff, bro. Like I'm young. And plus, at this time, I was in the suburbs at least. You get what I'm saying? Like the opportunity for a lot of our youth, way quicker than that. You get what I'm saying? And this is the part that they're going to justify it. They're going to make me feel good because like this is a brotherhood right here. You feel me? They're not going to make me feel weird because this is the means to my reality. None of that. So, but the other side, like the motherfuckers who have the ability to have funding and create programs for our people, like look how they're acting.
I'm push back.
You get what I'm saying? There's no means to the.
Let me push back to you saying that you can solve all this with just after school programs.
That's not what I'm saying.
Not saying, but I know. But a lot of times the answer becomes when you're talking about downtown, it becomes that, or it becomes the parents, or where are they parents? When I was growing up, you wouldn't dare go downtown. So in my mind, it got to be because we knew our place, right? Because the downtown was the jewel. No, but what I'm saying is downtown was the jewel.
The system is still getting the same outcome. Do you understand? Black and brown people, narrative, all of that, like the destructive violence, all of that. Outcome is the same, and we're going to get to it a different way because we're starting to see a little shift in some of the black culture. We're starting to see a little shift in some of the communication amongst the communities and things like that's coming back a little bit. You feel me? Now, like he said, like I remember when I was younger, I just moved to Chicago. The dance craze jerking was around a lot, and I'm talking about we had 300-400 people downtown, black and brown kids in a circle going crazy, cheering, shouting. Police officer ran in the middle, thought we was fighting, face turned red when he saw that we was just dancing.
It was dancing.
Right. It was crazy. Like I'm talking about all right, carry on, cool. Get out the jam. Like we was still very much downtown.
Right. In a positive setting because you was using it for what it was for.
Yeah. But at the time, media had enough like space for us to have positive things going out there. You get what I'm saying? Right now, in the generation where the bulk of their day processing is through a screen, 70% of that shit is negative. Do you get what I'm saying? So when they go out there, and it's not like I can go on YouTube or Vine or any of the other platforms back in the day and watch some positive dancing stuff, and like the most negative shit is somebody losing a battle. You get what I'm saying? It could be anything, rap battles, all of that. Like that, our culture was going crazy a few years ago. But when we look at how content has changed, we talk about an industry plant. We're not talking about the plant itself. We're talking about the fact that it's an industry plant. The industry planted it. You get what I'm saying?
And it cannot just be a person. It could be a whole energy.
Yeah,
Come on.
Right. Information.
We talk. Let's go back to the word bank. Yeah. That's every trait that we need to check off.
Right.
Look, let's talk about branding. The oppressor understands branding so much more than the people he's oppressing. They're oppressing. You get what I'm saying? Like, bro, if they understand that I can convince people to, like, I can manipulate a whole entire culture based off of what they're seeing. Oh no, let's start talking about how.
Okay, so I want to how does this tie into addiction? You know, with the whole fentanyl thing, issue that's going on, how does being oppressed tie into being addicted and putting us in a position where you see all of this, the poverty and everything that's going on? Can y'all speak on that?
It's escapism, right? Escapism. What leads people to drugs usually is again, maybe feeling isolated and alone in the conditions that are causing different things, depression, anxiety, stress. And when you're looking for an escape, it's really easy to fall into addiction, right? And so, I mean, also we have to think about, drugs, specific drugs, addictive drugs, were really created and facilitated in terms of the distribution in our communities by the government, right? And I think that's that was a huge part as to why there's this huge generational gap between what the Panthers and the civil rights movement was doing and this new movement, right? Because in between that time, drugs were put into the Black and brown community and people got super addicted. We think about Tupac's mother, right? We think about a lot of the ex-Panthers fell into addiction because that was what happened after that and stuff like that. And so it's all part of the system, I don't know if y'all have watching Snowfall, but it's a good show to watch to put into perspective just how diabolical really, that whole situation was. And to go even deeper when we talk about drugs, right? How the war on drugs has affected our homelands, because, we may be American citizens, but a lot of us were not from this land, either brought here through slavery or forced migration because of different things, right? But that war on drugs really destroyed a lot of our homelands and the way that society runs in those places. And we don't be understanding how we're helping the system, right? Because we're getting addicted on the drugs. It's helping continue this market that's actually funding the United States.
Once the wheel get to turning, it's turning.
Yeah.
I like what you said about diabolical. Now, when I think about America, for them to have the control that they have, they had to be diabolical.
Yeah.
Correct?
I mean, they're colonizers. All this conversation we're having about narrative and, some people call it indoctrination, some people call it brainwashing, some people might call it programming, right? Yeah. But it's colonizer programming, because we think about it this is the history of our government. And as Black and brown people, because we're marginalized and we're oppressed, we say, oh, we're not a part of that. We're not a part of the way these systems are perpetuated, but we're so much a part of it. We're actually the key part of it, right?
We're the blueprint.
And we literally mirror and reflect colonizer behavior with each other. And we don't know how that's helping the system continue to run like a well-oiled machine. It'd be we punish each other.
Right.
We don't trust each other. We don't.
One more question, then I'm gonna be quiet for Brother Allen. If it was the other way around and Black people was running everything, would we be just as diabolical?
Was it Farrakhan who said it?
Yep.
That's a great question.
He said, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the oppressor feels that when we get the power, we will do unto them what they have done unto us. For me, I believe that if we had that power, we don't give a fuck enough to oppress you like that. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, we don't want to spend no more energy on you.
Right. It takes too much energy to oppress somebody, bro.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And when you do that, man, I feel like it's so lifelong. It's like a lifelong thing. It's a forever thing.
So do you believe if you had the power, other people going to try to take it? And what would you do to keep that power?
For us,
that's basically what it be coming down to.
Power is not something transferred from human to human. It's a people thing. So Fred Hampton said it. They don't create buffoons in the Black Panther Party. You feel me? You can't kill a revolution, or you can't kill a revolution. You kill a revolutionary. And I feel like if they try to take me out and I got taken out, there's a community behind me that would continue to hold that power. You feel me? The power is only as strong as what community holds is.
Man, this has been such a, excellent conversation. Just vibe. I mean, I can't even call it a conversation, man. This meeting of the minds, most importantly. And it's only right, man. We started this thing a year ago, and we didn't know what it was going to be. We didn't know how people would respond to it, but our intentions were pure. We knew that the conversations that Lucky and I will have over the phone or whatever, other people need to hear this. People who we deemed as, tastemakers and important, that brought value to the culture. We felt that, man, okay, they're not getting the shine, they're not getting promoted. through regular means of media, we got to be the ones to do that. And that's been the goal since day one. It's going to continue being the goal. I got my brother back here today on a special moment. I got my other brother here with my new sister, or you've always been my sister, but now that you guys' union is definitely official, it's only right that we toast to this right now.
Come on.
Oh, hold up. Y'all ain't gonna keep forgetting about me.
Come on. I mean, producer has say. You know what, man?
Wow.
You know what, man?
Y'all
That
didn't
is
introduce
on
me at the
me.
beginning of the show.
Right, we ain't even introduced producer essay at the beginning of the show. His voice is just a phantom voice in the in the background. You know what I'm saying, man? We cannot forget my brother producer essay for making all of this possible, man. You know, when you see how crispy these edits be, and you know, when people are like, man, who's doing your production, man? This is my brother right here, man. He's spending many hours to bring this content to you guys, to give it to you at its highest level. So we definitely got to do this, man. We definitely got to, you know what I'm saying, shout you out, brother, man, because man, it's difficult.
And now I feel appreciated.
You know,
It definitely
you
is,
know,
man.
Right.
You know,
Good
but
job.
everybody, all of us have a role, a very important role to play, you know, in this great grand thing called life, you know, and it ain't always going to be easy, man, you know, but you got to, man, when that alarm ring, when the call come in, man, you got to answer and you got to be proactive, you know. So on that note, let's go ahead and fill these glasses.
This is what I'm going to say before we pop this open and make this brief. Everybody out there who supported Survival of the Fittest, we thank y'all for taking y'all time out of your busy schedules and trusting that sitting down with us would matter. It all started with an idea. We wasn't for sure how to piece it together outside of knowing that we depend on each other, knowing that we did have something to say and we knew other people that had a story worth telling. So everybody in Chicago who trusted us, man, we love you. Chicago, we love you from the bottom of our heart. America, we appreciate you, but you know we don't trust you. All right. Here we go.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
Woo!
So let's hold our glasses high.
Yeah. What are we doing?
First and foremost, to the Most High for making this all possible for us to be here, to be up, alive, and breathing, and making a difference in this world. You know, definitely toasted to health, wealth, and community. You know, for staying the course. No matter how difficult it may get, no matter how dark and gloomy it get, you be the light. And as long as you are the light, you're going to guide yourself right. Stay righteous. Your tribe is your vibe, and keep prospering. And we toasting to 1 year. And many more.
Survival of the Fittest.
Congrats.
Salud.
Salud.
Salute. Congratulations.
So I
man.
guess we'll end off with final thoughts. Reverend Washington is going to lead us out with a prayer. And that's going to be one for the books. So I guess I'll start it off. My final thought, it goes back to trust. In that thing, untrust people, or if you don't trust people, then it becomes hard to make them trustworthy, something into that effect. And trust the process. That's my thing. Trust the process, trust yourself and your experience, right? And then learn to love and trust the people around you, and just be content with that until God give you further notice. That's what I'm going to check out with. Trust the process, trust yourself, and love the people around you.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, stay active, be the change you seek to see in the world. You know, we can all complain about what we don't have and what we wish could be, or we could be active and be an example of that for others to see. And I'm going to leave out on that.
Chairman.
I'm gonna leave out on, man, we had a lot of revolutionary conversation. Every revolutionary that has been martyred today, that we know today, at their time they were known as an outlaw. I just want to leave that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add, when we think about what revolution is, it's like the completion of a cycle. And we think about life, sometimes we can get caught up in the idea that it's linear, like we're just on a linear path there, but it's iterative, meaning it goes in cycles. So technically, everyone's a revolutionary. It's what you decide to place into your cycle, what things you choose to break in your cycle that make you the kind of revolutionary that you are. So when we think about all of us are more than qualified to be a revolutionary. In fact, we're all revolutionary already. And we just got to take the right inspiration and insert the right things into our cycle so we can see things shift.
Man, so beautifully put.
You gotta take us out with a prayer.
No, come on. He just got on us about not giving him his shine, man. Come on, you can't forget
I like
about
my final thoughts too.
That is true. My bad. You're right.
But I just want to say, you got an ideal, put it out there to the universe, but then you got to put the work in.
Right.
If you're not gonna put the work in, what's the use of even having the ideal? Because without the work and trying to get out there to make it happen, and really being committed and staying disciplined, it's going to be impossible to do. Many people got ideas, but they just lay by the wayside because they don't put the work in. So once you put the work in, one step, one foot in front of the other, and you watch it build, ain't no telling where it can go. But without that, it's going to be impossible to make happen. So that's all I want to say.
True that.
Faith
Man,
without
so
works
eloquently
is dead.
put. Yes, absolutely.
Come on.
Lord, God, Dios, Allah O Rahim, the universe, to all the most magnificent names belong to you. We ask that you continue to guide us in this life. Guide us to be the vessels you created us to be. That you remind us of our power. Our power because we understand that God is omnipresent, meaning God is everywhere all at once, meaning I am God and those around me are God. Remind us that our interpersonal relationships may seem small, but they can really impact the large. Remind us that we have everything we need. We have an abundance to create the kind of culture and life that we want to see for ourselves and our people. We ask that you bless all of those who need resources to survive in this moment, that they be granted all of those things in your name. And we ask for all of us who live privileged lives, that we can choose when we witness the injustices of the world, that you place on our hearts a hunger for justice. We ask all of this in all the prophets' names. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
That's my wife, y'all.
Yes, it is. You did that. A man who finds a wife finds a good thing, the scripture says.
Absolutely. Now, this is a product for the people, by the people. Where dreams go further than bullets.
All right, you squares, we gone.
Till next time. Peace.
Luxury Productions.